Artistic Director for Biddigal Performing Arts. Biddigal Performing Arts is an inclusive Indigenous youth-based company located here in Cairns, far north Queensland. Our youth are transformed into cultural and biographical caretakers by elders around the country to share the elders' age-old stories with the world by way of the performing arts. There are four main components we strive to deliver and maintain in Biddigal, which we believe is inherent in all forms of Indigenous arts works and practices. These four components are culture, country, elders and identity. Due to the restraint on time, I will only highlight one of those components, and that is identity. Biddigal not only supports the maintenance and preservation of Indigenous song, story and dance for the next generation, we actively integrate oral histories that contribute to Australian identity through the arts and share very significant narratives through dance and performance in a unique manner. In order to do this, Biddigal Performing Arts recognises and respects the rights of its member artists in the artwork they create and in other forms of cultural and creative expression. These rights include the rights of Australia's Indigenous peoples to their traditional knowledge and culture. These cultural and traditional law rights are often referred to as Indigenous Cultural Intellectual Property Rights, or ICIP rights. Why am I talking about this? What's the relevance? There's only one reason. As an Indigenous artistic director who is training children and young people not only to believe but to also practice in the continuing culture of Australia's First Nations and descendants from the South Sea Island communities, and that the practice and transmission of our cultural expression should be continued by way of law, L-O-R-E, not L-A-W, for the benefit of future generations. Biddigal also believes that non-Indigenous Australians should have culturally appropriate access to and information about authentic Indigenous cultural expression in the belief that this can lead to greater understanding, respect for and protection of this culture. I know that the Australian Council for the Arts have protocols set in place for the production of Indigenous Australian performing arts to follow the rights of Australia's Indigenous peoples. I am yet to see this practice and policy from the NPEA. In conclusion, in a media release, Senator Brandis said, arts funding has now been limited almost exclusively to projects favoured by the Australian Council. Senator Brandis has also referred to the Australian Council as a closed shop that favoured artists in Melbourne and Sydney. The last time I checked, we're here in Cairns, far north Queensland. Biddigal Performing Arts, a newly emerging diverse performing arts group who've only been established since 2013, being a recipient of funds via the peer-assessed panel through the Australian Council. This actually shows there's a contradiction in Senator Brandis's media release and previous statements. With the unpredictability of any government, funds need to be administered by a continuing, stable, peer-assessed independent body, which is the Australian Council. Having said all of this, we want the Senate inquiry to know that we, Biddigal Performing Arts, prefer to have the funds reinstated to Australian Council for the arts. Thank you.